Have you ever wondered why a truck that ruled the road for decades just vanished? If you were standing on an American highway in 1975, every other big rig you saw was likely a cabover. People think Kenworth killed the K100 because it was a bad machine. They think it was just out with the old, in with the new. But the truth is much darker than that. Kenworth didn't just walk away from the K100. They performed a mechanical execution on their most famous model, the trap of the 12 meters. To understand why the K100 had to die, you have to understand why it was born in the first place. In the early days of trucking, the government was obsessed with length. Not the length of the trailer, but the length of the entire vehicle. There were strict limits on how long a truck and trailer could be together. This created a massive problem for companies like Kenworth. If you had a long-nosed truck with a big hood, you had to pull a shorter trailer to stay legal. Shorter trailers mean less cargo. Less cargo means less money. It was a simple math problem that every fleet owner was losing. This is what I call the length trap. The K100 was the perfect solution. By putting the cab directly over the engine, Kenworth chopped feet off the front of the truck. This let drivers pull massive trailers while staying inside the legal limit. It was a win-win for the balance sheet. The K100 became the workhorse of the U.S., hauling supplies through every kind of weather. It earned a reputation for reliability that money couldn't buy. Drivers loved the visibility. They felt like they were sitting on top of the world, looking down at the tiny cars below. But there was a hidden cost to this design. Because the driver was sitting right on top of the engine, the ride was brutal. Every bump in the road went straight into the driver's spine. It was noisy, it was hot, and it was cramped. But as long as the length laws stayed the same, the K100 was untouchable. It was the only way to make real profit on the long haul. But what happens when the rules of the game change overnight? The 1982 bombshell. In 1982, the U.S. government dropped a bombshell called the Surface Transportation Assistance Act. This law changed everything for Kenworth and the K100. It did one simple thing. It shifted the length limit from the entire vehicle to just the trailer. Suddenly, it didn't matter how long your truck was. You could have a hood that needed its own postcode, and you could still pull a full-size trailer. The length trap was gone. This was the moment the K100's greatest strength turned into its greatest weakness. Think about it like this. Why would a driver choose to sit on a vibrating engine in a tiny, cramped box when they could sit behind the engine in a long, smooth-riding spaceship cab? The reality of the cabover started to bite. Without the length advantage, the K100 was just a loud, uncomfortable, and difficult-to-service machine. But Kenworth didn't kill it immediately. They tried to save it. They added better insulation, plusher interiors, and even luxury trim levels. They tried to turn a workhorse into a Cadillac. But you can't fight physics. A truck with the aerodynamics of a brick is always going to struggle when the world starts caring about fuel. The rise of the anteater. While the K100 was fighting for its life, a secret was brewing inside Kenworth's engineering department. In 1973, the oil embargo had sent diesel prices through the roof. Overnight, fuel costs jumped from 27 cents to 47 cents a gallon. To us today, that sounds cheap. To a fleet owner in the 70s, it was a death sentence. Kenworth realized that the future wasn't about length, it was about air. They needed a truck that could slip through the wind instead of crashing into it. They started a project that would eventually become the Kenworth T600. Because of its sloping, aerodynamic hood, truckers gave it a mean nickname, the Anteater. The K100 fans laughed at it. They thought a real truck should have a flat face and a vertical grille. But the T600 had the last laugh. It offered up to 22% better fuel economy than the old boxy designs. When you're running a fleet of 1,000 trucks, that 22% is the difference between making millions and filing for bankruptcy. Kenworth saw the writing on the wall. The T600 was catching customers left and right. It was more comfortable, cheaper to run, and easier to fix because you didn't have to tilt the entire cab just to check the oil. The K100 was becoming a cautionary tale of a design that refused to evolve. The comfort crisis. There is another reason Kenworth pulled the plug that people rarely talk about: the drivers themselves. In the 80s and 90s, the trucking industry started facing a massive driver shortage. It wasn't just about moving freight, it was about keeping the people who moved it happy. Drivers started demanding more. They didn't want a meat chopper that rattled their teeth every time they hit a pothole. They wanted home-like atmospheres. They wanted sleepers where they could actually stand up. The K100 was a nightmare for driver retention. To get into a K100, you had to climb a ladder like a mountain goat. If the steps were icy, you were taking your life into your own hands. Once you were inside, the doghouse and the engine cover took up half the room. Compare that to the new long-nosed trucks coming off the line. They had quilted insulation, carpeted floors, and optional wood grain dashes. They had mini desks and enough headroom to stretch out. Fleet owners realized that if they wanted to keep their best drivers, they had to stop assigning them cabovers. The K100 became the truck you only got if the boss hated you. It was a rattle trap that made drivers rethink their entire careers. Kenworth knew that if they kept pushing the K100, they were helping their competitors win. The real hidden reason. Now here is the part of the story that most people miss. It wasn't just about the law or the fuel or the comfort. It was about corporate focus. By the late 90s, Kenworth's parent company, PACCAR, was looking at the numbers. Every dollar they spent keeping the K100 alive was a dollar they weren't spending on the future. They were pouring money into the T680 and advanced telematics. Building a cabover requires a completely different assembly line, different parts, and different engineering knowledge. As sales for the K100 slipped to just a tiny percentage of their total market, it stopped making sense to keep the factory doors open. It was a cold, calculated move. Kenworth saw that the Class 8 market in America had moved on. They chose to step aside and let the K100 die so they could roar with their new aerodynamic models. They traded a legend for a profit margin. But there is a twist in this story. The K100 didn't actually die everywhere. In places like Australia and New Zealand, length laws are still a nightmare. Because of that, the K100 evolved into the K200 and K220. It is still a king, just not on the roads it helped build. The engineering pride versus the dollar. Let's look at the numbers because they tell the story of why this legend was abandoned. In 1980, the heavy-duty truck market was changing fast. Companies that didn't adapt were filing for bankruptcy with $1 billion in debt. Kenworth wasn't failing, but they saw what happened to giants like the White Motor Company when they lost their market share. White trucks used to dominate, but by 1980, their share collapsed from 20% to just 6%. Why? Because they tried to do too many things at once and ignored what truckers actually wanted: fuel efficiency and reliability. Kenworth didn't want to be the next cautionary tale. They knew that focusing on the K100 was like trying to sell a steam engine in the age of the jet. The K100 represented American craftsmanship, but the bean counters in the boardroom saw escalating manufacturing costs. They were maintaining production facilities for a product that shared few parts with their newer models. When interest rates soared and the economy got tight, they had to make a choice. They chose the path of least resistance and most profit. The last vibration. So what is the lesson here? The K100 died because it was too good at solving a problem that the government eventually deleted. It was a precision-driven machine built for a world of strict length limits. When those limits vanished, the K100 became a solution without a problem. It reminds us that in any industry, success can be more dangerous than failure. If you get too comfortable being the king of a specific niche, you might not notice when that niche starts to disappear. If you love this deep look at why the giants of the road fall, you need to see what happened to the rest of the American truck empire. Click over here to see how greed and bad decisions destroyed some of the biggest names in trucking history. It's a story of spiritual warfare on wheels that you won't believe. I'll see you over there. The ghosts of the assembly line. Think about that last day in the factory. No farewell video, no big party, just a quiet hum of hydraulics and a signature on a clipboard. The workers in their coveralls watched a legacy roll past for the last time. They were watching the end of an era where a truck was a box you sat on top of, and the beginning of an era where a truck was a home you lived in. The K100 didn't fail because it was weak. It was strong enough to survive World War II battlefields in spirit and the Great Depression in practice. But it couldn't survive the stroke of a pen in a Washington, D.C. office. It couldn't survive the shift from the 12-meter trap to the aerodynamic advantage. The psychology of the long hood. Trucking has always been about pride. When a driver pulls up to a job site, they want to know they have the best rig in the lot. For a long time, that rig was the K100. It looked like a titan. But the psychological shift of the 1980s turned the status symbol into a punishment. A good truck today is measured by how much it feels like a Cadillac and how little it sips diesel. The K100 was built for working-class grit, but modern trucking is a game of advanced telematics and ergonomics. The K100 was a machine you operated. The T680 is a machine you manage. The K100 was essentially a mechanical paradox. It was built for a world that required it to be small, yet it carried the biggest dreams of the American highway system. When the world allowed trucks to grow, the Cabover became a fossil. The legacy rolls on. Even though the assembly lines in the U.S. stopped nearly 3 decades ago, the engineering DNA of the K100 is still rolling. Companies like Autocar and Western Star still carry that same legacy of unmatched engineering precision. They focus on custom trucks for demanding jobs where failure isn't an option. This is the real story of the K100. It wasn't a failure. It was a victim of its own perfection. It solved the math so well that when the math changed, there was nowhere left for it to go. It's like a master key for a door that has been replaced by a fingerprint scanner. It's still a masterpiece, but it doesn't open the door anymore. But wait, there is one more thing I didn't tell you. There was another truck that drivers hated even more than the Cabovers. A truck that was so bad it made grown mechanics turn into philosophers. If you think the K100 had it rough, you need to see the rattle traps and engineering disasters that almost destroyed the industry entirely. Click the video on your screen right now to find out which 13 trucks are the most hated in history. You won't believe which famous names made the list. I'll see you in the next one.